Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and today I'm talking about Terraforming Mars. This is the second of the Bravo series of sci-fi corporations that I've made for this game, and I want to talk a little bit about how I designed the Concordance Extraction Company, or CEC, from Dead Space. Let's get rolling. I'm ready to talk to you about the Concordance Extraction Corporation, or CEC, from Dead Space, and how I tried to translate it to Terraforming Mars. So, the Dead Space series is a series of video games. They're in the survival horror genre with a sci-fi bent. I've played. I'm by far most familiar with the first one. I played the first one when it first came out. I think I replayed it maybe in 2020, so a couple years ago. But I know I played the second one. It was okay. Not as good as the first, not as groundbreaking as the first anyway, but it was all right. And then the third one I never played, and I don't know if they've made more since then. I think the beginning of this year, the time of recording, they re-released the first update. What's the word for it? Updated graphics and audio and that sort of thing. I think they re-recorded some of it, but anyway, definitely the first one I'm most familiar with, and I think it's pretty cool. So the idea behind the CEC is they're a giant corporation on Earth. One of the largest by market cap, if I understand correctly, and their whole shtick is they have a series of a fleet of giant space ships called planet crackers that go out to different planets and basically just disassemble them for their raw materials that they then bring back to the Earth system or elsewhere. I'm not necessarily sure where they bring it, but they're a supplier of raw materials that they get from disassembling planets and probably smaller bodies too, asteroids and things like that. So to translate that to Terraforming Mars, you'll see they have a unique combination of tags for this corporation. There is a building tag and a space tag, and I'm pretty confident there's no other card in the game, with the exception of maybe a prelude. I don't know if there's any preludes, but no project cards and no corporations, as far as I know, that have those two tags. So that's pretty unique. And they start with 38 mecha credits, which is not a ton, but they have one steel production and one titanium production, and I think that's reflective of their mining operations. And in the lore of Dead Space, I think it takes place in the 24th or 26th century or something. And their planet cracker spaceships are jumping around other star systems. I think Terraforming Mars is supposed to begin maybe more in the near future. So maybe this is an early version of the CEC that eventually expands into what they become in the Dead Space franchise. And the flavor text, what have I got here? Flavor text says, "All that trouble over that chunk of rock," which is from the intro to the first game, sort of the introductory sequence. I had to pull a quote. I think they've changed this in the re-release, but in the original version, the protagonist that you play as, Isaac Clarke, cleverly named Isaac Clarke, doesn't have any speaking lines. Which was interesting. So this is, anyway, in the intro sequence, somebody else is kind of explaining the world of Dead Space to you, the viewer, really. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the effect on this card. So there's two effects that go together. Your steel can be used on space cards as well as building cards. typically is just building cards. And your titanium, likewise, which is usually just reserved for space cards, can also be used on building cards. And the amounts remain the same. Steel is always worth 2, titanium is always worth 3, unless you have some sort of modifying project. But that effect lasts the whole game. So your metal production, you've got 2 steel and, or I'm sorry, 1 steel and 1 titanium production to start off with. That's 5 mega credits worth of material, but you can use it way more flexibly. So I think the starting credits are at 38 mega credits seems fairly low compared to some other corporations, but I think the effect is really powerful and gives you just a ton of flexibility. And so you can pay for your building tags way more easily in the early game. And then as you transition to the late game, you might take that steel and use it for space tags. So I think that's pretty cool. And then I didn't mention the background for this corporation is the I think that's the image that was on the cover of the original game of just a severed hand in a space glove floating around in space. So I think it's one of the more iconic images from the franchise. But yeah, I think this captures very well what the CEC does. I think the mechanics of this card capture very well what the CEC does from an operational standpoint, at least until you start diving deeper into the lore of the game and you get into the religious overtones and some of the other pieces. I wasn't going to try and incorporate all that into Terraforming Mars, but at least at a high level, with their planet cracking and the material gathering, I think this is all very thematic, and I think it would be a lot of fun to play with. That being said, I'm going to play it now. So at the same time I release this, I'll release a solo playthrough video, so you can check that out. And I just want to remind you that this corporation, along with the whole rest of this 9 corporation pack, they're all currently available to download for print and play on my website. That's tablefor1.games, and go to the content or the free content section, and you can download this whole series along as well as the first series of Sci-Fi Corps I did, the Alpha series. There's 6 corporations there, and I've also got other free content for Terraforming Mars and for other games like Spirit Island, so you can find that all at tablefor1.games. Otherwise, let me know what you think about this corporation in the comments, and if you play with it, let me know how that goes and what you think on a playthrough. That'd be awesome to hear. Otherwise, I'll be back in 2 weeks with the 3rd corporation in this pack, so I will see you then. if not next week for whatever it is I'm going to release that's not necessarily Terraforming Mars related. So that's the longest outro I can possibly come up with. Thanks for sticking around. See ya.